My friends, the Elimination Chamber is a couple of weeks away, and it's kind of like what happened with the Royal Rumble. There are people we want to win and people we think WWE may be booking to win, but that's a completely different question from who should win, because of course who I think should win is going to be completely different from who you should think should win, which is a gibberish sentence. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the women's, we're going to go through the men's, and we're going to pick out the shoulds. Not the woulds, the coulds, or the foots. We're doing the shoulds. Drop me a comment. Let's go. Because really, if we are looking at the scene of WWE right now, and I'm recording this before Raw, I like to do it before we actually know what's going on, because I think it's more fun. And then also, if you join the video after the fact, you can go, Simon, you're an absolute moron, which is true. But Gunther should really be winning the Elimination Chamber, right? If I had told you, let's say we had no idea who was going to be John Cena's last match, we were sat down to do a video like this, I think most of us would have presumed that whoever is going to be the man to retire John Cena will probably have a wonderful 2026, win this, win that, and eventually get the World Championship. And look, Gunther may not even be in it by the time you watch this, because of course he's got his Elimination Chamber qualifier on Raw later today. But yeah, I think that he should win it. That's why I don't think he should have been number 30 in the Rumble. I think Gunther should have been in the Royal Rumble, unless he's going to win it. And maybe that's me being a little bit nerdy and geeky, I will give you that. But I also think there's some truth to it, and I think there's some logic to it. It's like the person that defeated The Undertaker's streak. It's one of these emotional moments that has to be built up with equity, and it has to be built up with time. So if you have given it to Gunther, for at least 12 months' time, you've got to give all the power to Gunther, all the mojo to Gunther, all the momentum to Gunther. I guess he can kind of not get in it, because again, Javon Evans in that match, Javon Evans could pin somebody else, and Gunther just stands like a lemon going, I can't believe it. But even then, you could argue that takes something away from him. And given a lot of people are saying that Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre isn't necessarily the match they do want to see. Of course, Cody qualified on Friday. Maybe WWE will call another audible. Now, on this channel, and I'm not saying they're not true or they are true, we take all rumours and news that we're not 100% sure with a pinch of salt. I think people are a bit mean to the people that report this stuff. It's the same as any other medium, but that's how I like to do it, because I think things change so many times. And WWE apparently isn't very happy with the ticket sales for WrestleMania. They're like 10,000 down total or whatever it was from last year. That's a metric they should be looking at. And I think there are a couple of people in the power positions who are like, well, maybe this is down to the card that we're insinuating, the card we're hinting at, so people aren't coming across. Now, I don't actually think it is anything to do with that, but we'll just pretend that it is for now. Maybe now WWE is saying, well, maybe Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre is not the match that we should go back to. Maybe we should sort of pull another match in. And you could do versus Drew. I think you can argue there's probably less star power in that, because Cody is one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star, that WWE has. But Gunther and Drew McIntyre do have history with each other. You know, they have fought in the past. And Gunther could beat Drew McIntyre, especially because I think that's going to be the night one main event. So you can have a heel win that one, and that ties into a different story. Or maybe we're going to go crazy with the Elimination Chamber, and it is going to be something mad like Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre versus Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. Although once again, then you're just putting Gunther in positions where he's not winning, but he's not losing. It's like my progress and story in 2025. Not that you need to know this, but I lost the Proteus Championship, and then I kept being put in multi-man matches to try and win it back and become the number one contender. I never got pinned, I never got submitted, but somebody else would take the win and somebody else took the loss. So I was there, an egg on my face. And actually, yesterday, I qualified for round 2 of Super Strong Star. So it's kind of worked out okay. And thank you to everybody that was down there. But you could have Gunther in that role. But I just think after a while, it's going to get a little bit tiring, because you want to capitalize on these things. So in terms of the shoulds, I think Gunther should be right up there. And also, Cody Rhodes cannot be competing for the WWE title. And I still think he'll feel like a mega big deal. Now, of course, the real person known as Cody Rhodes or Cody Reynolds, he wants to be in that position. And I do as a fan. I think push comes to shove, that is going to happen. But it really depends what happens with Gunther, and depends what's happening with this guy. Because another rumor that went around the other day, and man, am I going to look stupid, more stupid than usual, is that maybe WWE is considering LA Knight versus Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania. Now, first I was like, what? But then, who threw Brock Lesnar out of the Royal Rumble? It was Cody Rhodes and LA Knight. And I remember when that did happen, I was like, well, that was silly, because LA Knight's never going to take on Brock. Goes to show, don't just say these things. Sometimes actually put some weight behind your words. But of course, that would then bring something else into the equation, which is what the flub happened to Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, who of course had a big tangle in the Royal Rumble. Now, I personally feel like Oba Femi should have gotten the better of that. It is what it is. It doesn't matter. We move on so fast. There's no point crying over spilt milk. But at the moment, Oba Femi, I think, is deliberately not being put in Elimination Chamber matches for the reason we just talked about Gunther. WWE understands what they have on their hands, and they're just going to try and sort of make it look like he forgot the Elimination Chamber was happening, or at least to totally destroy Kit Wilson next week on SmackDown. And listen, everything we've done with Oba Femi so far is awesome. I think maybe I misspoke, or maybe it was misconstrued, I don't know. The only reason I didn't like that he beat up the War Raiders, I thought it was awesome because they're two big dudes, is because I thought it just hampered that Raw Tag Team division even more. And the poor Raw Tag Team division needs all the help that it can get. But then, when I enter back to Nerdland and Fantasy Booking Land, I mean, man, Oba Femi should be winning the flipping Elimination Chamber. What are the reasons for him not to win the Chamber? People say, well, it's too soon. What do you mean it's too soon? What has Oba Femi been challenged with that he hasn't been able to overcome? Totally smashed it in NXT. The only reason he hadn't been called up, or so it seems, is because the WWE bigwigs thought, well, in the main roster doesn't know who he is, but the NXT audience does. He then comes out on John Cena's last match, Saturday night's main event. Everyone goes crazy. It goes massive on TikTok. Don't pretend you didn't see all these people are doing the walks. Even when I watched the Royal Rumble this year, as I tell this story for the 10th time, the people that weren't wrestling fans were like, I like this Oba Femi walk. How weird is that? Because people like weirdness in wrestling. They're the small things that get you over, even more so than what you do in the ring. So I think there's no reason why he can't win the Chamber and then can't go on to beat, let's say, Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, who he also has beef with. That's what happened when all the stuff was going on with Cody. They kept smashing each other in the face. And the only reason not to do it is because he's new to the main roster. I think that's just so boring. I think if you know you have gold with someone, and how the only way you can flub Oba Femi up is if you flub Oba Femi up. It's totally on you. Even if you book him as the most stereotypical monster babyface that we've done for the last 50 years, it will work. It's already working because Oba Femi just takes his stuff. He also has the best head screwed on his shoulders. He was on the No Contact or No Contest podcast the other day, and he said, what was it like when you were told you had to lose the NXT title? He's like, it's all good. I imagine there's a bigger plan. I'm just a tool here. I'm just going to get on and do my job. That man is good to go. So I haven't got to worry about him being too arrogant or his stock's going to fall. It's only going to fall if you don't put him in the right decisions. Now, listen, I don't mind him not being in the Elimination Chamber, beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and then we start him on a big old track to the World Championship. But when we bring that word should into play, who should win the Elimination Chamber? It's Oba Femi. We should be giving him everything. I told you this. He should be the tag team champions, even though it doesn't make any sense. So back in the world of the sensical, if he can win the Elimination Chamber and then he can go on to beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, especially when you've got CM Punk and Roman Reigns as the other main event, which is going to be a completely different take on what we deem sports entertainment to be, that's what I would do. And then you can do Cody Rhodes versus Jacob for 2. Just say Cody Rhodes is the guy that beat up Jacob for 2, right? Back in 2025. I think that's a terrible idea because I don't think it ties into Cody Rhodes' personality at all. I think you're kind of, remixing what happened and just all Cody can do it. But you can still have Jacob for 2 decide it's definitely you, Cody. I would take Cody Rhodes versus Jacob for 2 as a match on WrestleMania as long as you pushed it hard enough. And of course I want Cody Rhodes back in the world title picture afterwards. But why stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne? Why not go crazy with Oba Femi? And now there'll be some people out there that don't get Oba Femi and are going, Simon, you're an idiot. It's totally true. Please do leave me a comment below. I just think it would be different, it would be fun, and it's the beauty of having a night 1 and night 2 main event. Now, I think if you main event either of them, you've totally smashed it. I don't like this, night 2, but oh man, we got real problems. Let's not get bogged down in this stuff, please. But the good thing is you do have a fail-safe. For example, if you switch around last year's main events and you have that, what some people deem to be a debacle between John Cena and Cody Rhodes, I think it gets ruined by Travis Scott. I think before that, it's totally fine. But then you do Punk versus Rollins versus Reigns on night 2. I think people look at WrestleMania very differently. If day 2 starts off with that awesome Rhea Ripley, Bianca, and Io match and ends with the awesome triple threat between Roman and co, I don't think people see it the same way. So you can take a risk is what I'm telling you. Oba Femi could win the championship on night 1, and then night 2 you have this crazy, oh my gosh, can't believe it's happening, one-on-one between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Then Oba Femi comes out the other side, I would guess on SmackDown as the world champion. Maybe he can have a feud with Cody Rhodes. He can then sort of trade the belt here and there. You have to be creative in the way that you beat him. But I just not worry, it's way too strong. But I imagine the WWE will have him be pinned in a silly way before he does win a championship. I would rather it would be the other way. He wins that belt without losing, and then sure, when it's time to take it off him, which will come, you figure out a really cool way for him to take the 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, and then you start playing that thing around, and then you've established him. Now, I've gone on a rant here. That was not my plan. If you want to talk about shoulds, Oba Femi should be winning the Chamber. He's not even going to be in it. I think LA Knight would probably be a good call too, but there's just no way that's going to be a match that WWE does. I don't know where LA Knight lands. And look, if it's Brock Lesnar versus LA Knight, I'm worried that Brock Lesnar beats him. And that's a terrible, terrible mistake. But we'll save that for another video. When we'll switch to the Women's Elimination Chamber, which actually now has got mega interesting. Now again, wrestlers love to work us, so we need to be careful here. But let's just believe what we believe because it's more important. Bianca Belair, I believe yesterday, put up a post that she's got finger surgery tomorrow. So today, I suppose. As I'm talking to you, so all the best to her. Nothing more important than that. We love wrestling. We enjoy wrestling. But it is the most important of the least important things. And if we are to err on the side of caution, I don't think Bianca Belair is going to be in that match. The reason I bring it up is because she would have been my winner. I would have done Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. I think that's a mega match, especially the way Jade came into the company. But now I look at it and I see these other rumors about maybe it's going to be Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill or Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, which I don't think is the right idea at all. So who is looking at me from the corner, at least in terms of should winning the Elimination Chamber? damn it, it's Alexa Bliss. Now, Alexa Bliss is always over, right? Got a massive pop at the Royal Rumble last year. That's right, last year, whenever it was. And the relationship with Charlotte has been very, very good. The allies of convenience who are now friends. Very, very well done. I enjoy it. I'm a big fan of everything they have done. I still think the Elimination Chamber should be used for Bliss and Charlotte Flair to fall out. So now what I would do is I would have the last two as Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair. I would tell Alexa Bliss heel. I think it's just different. We've seen Charlotte Flair heel so many times. And even though we are kind of tearing away Alexa Bliss's popularity, sometimes you do just have to do it, right? And I know that kind of makes me a bit of a hypocrite here because I'm saying don't do that with Cody, so why do it with Alexa? But I think here it serves the story. If you come to me with a story that serves Cody Rhodes going heel, I totally agree that we should do it. But Alexa Bliss wins the chamber by going heel. Charlotte is devastated. And if WWE are so desperate to get Charlotte and Tiffany in that match, you can do a four-way, like you really can, especially if you're doing Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquero on the Raw side of things. If you do Tiffany versus Jade versus Alexa versus Charlotte, with the fact that Alexa and Charlotte Flair have proper beef, with the fact Jade Cargill being like, of course 3 people have to come at me, it's unbelievable, and Tiffany Stratton being there because WWE wants to pitch her as a big star, that I actually think works, at least with the cogs that we have in the machine. I don't think that Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton should be anywhere near each other for a while because we did it in 2025. Same as Nia Jax coming out. It's like, no more Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. And I like both of them. I think they're super fun. They understand their roles wonderfully. But when you've seen something over and over again, you want something new, especially at WrestleMania. And while actually you get a bit of a replay here because you're going to have Tiffany versus Charlotte as well, I just think the additions of the two other ones, it achieves what WWE has on the table at the moment, as I figured to, so I struggle to figure out my sentence. But I think Alexa Bliss can win is my other point. You know my deal. If somebody turns heel, they should win a championship if that's their lane at the moment. And it means you can pin either Charlotte Flair or Tiffany Stratton, probably Charlotte Flair, because I actually think that would get her more sympathy with the fans, which is what you want now with Charlotte's heel face character. And Jade Cargill doesn't get pinned. And quite clearly, the reason that WWE didn't book Jade Cargill in a match for over 100 days is to like, how does she win matches without getting pinned? Especially because we don't want to pin X, Y, and Z. Now, yeah, she's going to have to be creative because if Tiffany Stratton doesn't win the chamber, how the flub does she get in? But that actually ties into this other overarching idea that I do have, that I don't want, but WWE loves to copy themselves. Because if on the men's side we are going to do Cody versus Jacob versus Drew and Cody wins the chamber, then Jacob has to magic his way into it as well. So if Alexa Bliss wins the chamber, then you're going to have to do the same thing with Charlotte and Tiffany. Now, I hope that WWE doesn't do that. I don't like it when they go, well, we did it on Raw, so we'll do it on SmackDown. But they have got due course for this. They do it a lot, and I notice it all the time. Like, that's exactly the same finish as we had on the other show. But then again, ultimately, the best comeback to that is if it makes WrestleMania better and you're more excited about those shows and more excited about those matches. If it sells more tickets, then we did the right thing. But I think Alexa Bliss should win the chamber match. I mean, who is going to be in it realistically? I think I'm pretty sure Charlotte Flair will get in. I can't even think if she's got a qualifying match. Tiffany Stratton is in. Of course, Alexa is now in. And you're probably going to get a Lash Legend in there because WWE wants to push her, but I doubt they're going to do anything major. Nia Jax will probably be in it. And then maybe it's a Julia or Julia just went out, right? Yeah, she did because she was in that other match that we're already talking about. But I just think when you go through the other names on the women's roster on SmackDown at the moment, there is no one that screams out to you, I'm Jade Cargill's opponent. We've done a Jordan Grace match. Chelsea Green is injured. It looks like it's going to be Jordan Grace versus Chelsea Green anyway. Zelina Vega, she's already gone. Like Kiana James, she's already gone. There are other people that have tried. And also, these aren't the people that are going to go on to have the World Championship match at WrestleMania. Unless from nowhere, WWE is going to give them more momentum. Whereas Alexa Bliss, even when she's not being focused on talent, she's always of and in amongst it, right? So I actually think now when you do shine a bigger spotlight on her, let's take her all the way. Let's turn her heel, which would make her sort of the highlight of the brand, for lack of a better term. And if she does come out of WrestleMania being the champion, it justifies the heel turn. It's super interesting. Again, she can have the one-on-one match with Charlotte. She can have the one-on-one match with Jade. She can have the one-on-one match with Tiffany. And then we absolutely need to start calling more women up and maybe actually, make Judy the badass that we know her to be. But I think there's something in that. And I think that even with the men's, there are other people that probably aren't even going to qualify that you can start advocating for. I think it's lesser so on the women's side now that Bianca Belair isn't going to get involved. And I wouldn't mind Charlotte Flair doing it, but I just think WWE has done that too many times. There's a contingent of the fan base that is not going to like it. Tiffany and Jade we talked about, I think that's done and done. Whereas Alexa Bliss, like I said, because she's been kept here and because we know she can be here, I think it may be time to do something extra with her. So we do wait and see. Of course, the flip side to that is that we also saw Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill have a face-off, which does tie into my part 2. Because Io Sky also looked at Julia and was like, man, I'd take that US title off you, pal. And that's when we led into the Jade Rhea standoff. So Rhea Ripley, who also is qualified for that chamber, can win the chamber match, you do Jade versus Rhea Ripley, right? That takes her off Raw. Maybe that's more interesting. Maybe it's a benefit to SmackDown. Rhea versus Jade is a match that people have wanted to see. I would count myself in that. And once again, while there are some negative Nancy's that like to pretend Rhea Ripley isn't a massive star, we talk about this a lot, she is. Go and listen to the reaction she got when she came out on, was she on SmackDown 2 or Raw, whatever the last show she was on. It was humongous. And again, going back to that Raw Rumble I watched with people, they just liked her. And again, it's based on nothing. Oh, she's got an interesting look, which is so important when it comes to wrestling. So maybe, given that we do have, 2 months before Mania, you can have Rhea Ripley win the chamber. They can then lose the tag team titles to a Nia Jax or a Lash Legend or whoever the flub it's going to be. I want those women's championships to be kept alive. I'm a big fan of the women's tag belts. I think they've proven time and time again. If you give them time, you give them space, you give them good matches, and you put them on the card, they'll always deliver. You then switch over to Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill, which Rhea would probably win. You do Io Sky versus Julia, which will help Julia. My gosh, that match will steal the show, right? It just will. And as long as we sort of capitalize on that, that will be good too. I kind of feel like, even though I'd love to see Rhea versus Io in a big multi-person tag match at Mania, they've already given their star power to those belts. So that's the other thing that you can do. And also, if you told me, I don't necessarily agree with this, I think it's important that all wrestlers do this at all times. Otherwise, the main event scene gets too clogged up. But could Rhea Ripley be presented as a bigger single star at the moment? Yes, but she's taken that star power, kind of like what Tony Storm did on AEW, and we're dedicating it to the tag team belts because they needed them. We've now achieved that, so a great way for all of a sudden to go, whoop, there goes Rhea again. She wins the chamber and she takes on Jade Cargill. Then you can also have Alexa turn on Charlotte, and that's a singles match that you do at WrestleMania that's not for the belt, which then gives Rhea challengers on the other side. So going back to that should word, I've done now 42,000 times, I think Rhea Ripley would be my choice out of everybody. And given all the names we've thrown in, it would be Oba Femi and Rhea Ripley. But given that Oba Femi notes could be in it, it would be Gunther. But I still think realistically, it will probably, I think Rhea Ripley's a good shout now if Bianca Belair's not there. But I think Alexa Bliss and a Cody Rhodes is probably a good way to go, should you wish to bet on professional wrestling, which you can now do, which I find totally crazy. There has to be something not ethical about that, but I do not know. But I really, really do think in terms of people that are on the roster right now that could benefit the most, which is essentially what a should means, it's a Gunther, it's an Oba Femi, it's an Alexa Bliss, and I think Rhea Ripley would fit wonderfully into there. And now especially, like I say, all the thoughts of Bianca Belair, that must have been a horrific injury, almost 1 year out, so I hope the surgery is a success and she comes back, because there is a massive Bianca Belair-shaped hole in SmackDown at the moment. She would help that women's division no end. But if you do want to give it to Rhea Ripley, and you do Rhea Ripley versus Jade, and you build it in the way that it could be built, I tell you, man, if wrestling is about the promotion beforehand and the aura and the atmosphere and the environment, they will totally smash it. And if you don't think so, that's totally cool, but this bald idiot thinks you're wrong. Now take that word, should, put it in your head, and I want 2 names below. Don't start saying all this or this. I want 2 names only. Not that I'm going to do anything if you ignore this. Who should win the men's one, and who should win the women's one? I want some detailed booking explanations as well. Don't go crazy, but justify. Don't go an alien should be in it, because that would make no sense. Click the video on the screen to get my thoughts from SmackDown, which I don't think I enjoyed as much as other people. Always worry when I go the other way, but it happens. Before you do, head to patreon.com/Simon316 before you go to bigcartel.com/Simon. You go to Simon to get money off. Best supplements in the world as far as I'm concerned. Simon316 to follow me there. Instagram and TikTok, search for Simon Miller to get my brand new interview series called Under the Mat, which is, yes, it's like Between Two Ferns. It's like Hey EW. I'd planned to do this for a while. I'm not going to justify it anymore. I did it. I think it's good. Check it out. If you think it's crap, that's awesome. Who cares? Pro Wrestling Tees and what's the other one? Cameo. Search for my names. Enjoy the build to the Elimination Chamber. I'll mention it now. I'm actually away the week of the Chamber, but I'll be back for the review, but I'll get a few generic videos up. Take care, my friends. See you soon.